Noor was the most beloved wife of King Hussein of Jordan. She had no royal roots and was born and raised in America, but this did not prevent her from becoming Queen of Jordan. After her husband's death, she disappeared from Jordanian royal life. Why did she have to leave the country, and where is she now? Keep watching to learn this woman's incredible story. When King Hussein of Jordan married a young American student, Lisa Najib Halaby, in 1978, no one believed the union would last. At that time, the king was 43 and his wife was 27. Lisa wore a modest white dress during the wedding ceremony and looked much younger than her age. The king seemed much older than her. He really had more life experience. There have already been 3 unsuccessful marriages. This was the 4th wedding. Has he finally found the one? People were skeptical about this relationship. The couple had not only a significant age difference, but also in origin. Lisa did not have royal roots. She was born and raised in America. As for King Hussein, he ruled the country from the age of 16. He was from the great Hashemite dynasty and was also considered a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. How can such different people be together for a long time? It was hard to believe this sweet American girl could become a real queen. However, this marriage became the longest in the king's life. They lived together for 21 years and could have lived even longer if the disease had not taken Hussein's life. From a sweet American girl, Lisa became Queen Noor, a powerful, influential, and respected woman. So, how did a simple American girl manage to become the king's wife? Lisa Najib Halaby was born in Washington, D.C., USA, to Najib Halaby and Doris Carlquist. Her father was of Syrian-Lebanese descent. Her mother was from Sweden. Lisa's great-grandfather, Elias Halaby, came to New York around 1891 and was one of the first Syrian-Lebanese immigrants. Lisa's father was a Christian Scientist, a Navy experimental test pilot, an airline executive, and a government official. He is also known for making the first transcontinental jet flight in American history and his service as chairman of Pan Am from 1969 to 1972. As you can see, Lisa's family didn't have royal origins, but they were privileged, wealthy, and respected. They lived in America but remembered their Arab roots. This would subsequently help Lisa gain respect in Jordan. Lisa Najib Halaby received a bachelor's degree in architecture and urban planning from Princeton University. Then she moved to Australia, where she worked for a firm that specialized in planning new towns. Due to her Syrian heritage, Lisa has always been interested in the Middle East. After a year, she accepted a job offer from a British architectural and planning firm, which had been employed to design a model capital city center in Tehran, Iran. She then entered Columbia University's Graduate School of Journalism while taking a temporary aviation facility research job in Amman. She accepted a position with Alia Airlines and eventually became director of facilities planning and design. At that moment she met King Hussein of Jordan. They first saw each other in the winter of 1976 when Lisa was traveling with her father, then the chairman of the International Advisory Board for Royal Jordanian Airlines, for a ceremony celebrating the purchase of Royal Jordanian Airlines' first Boeing 747. There she met King Hussein and his wife Queen Alia. But a great tragedy occurred in the royal Jordanian family just a year later. Queen Alia died in a helicopter accident. For King Hussein, it was a colossal tragedy. He loved his wife very much and raised 3 children with her, 2 biological and 1 adopted. Also, the king had already been married twice before. He married for the first time in his youth to his father's 3rd cousin, Princess Dina, who bore him a daughter. The second time he married a girl of British origin, Tony Gardiner, who became Princess Muna and took him 4 children. The oldest son in this marriage is the current King of Jordan, Abdullah II. Therefore, when meeting his future 4th wife, King Hussein was the father of 8 children from 3 different women. He also had 1 illegitimate son, Timothy, from American actress Susan Cabot. In 1977, King Hussein became a widower, but his heart demanded new love. Lisa Halaby was the woman who helped him forget about the tragedy and become happy again. Their meeting occurred due to a series of accidents. By the middle of 1977, Lisa was accepted to Columbia University School of Journalism. However, she received an exciting job offer. The founder and chairman of Royal Jordan Airlines offered Lisa a job heading up a department within Royal Jordanian Airlines to coordinate the planning, design, and maintenance of the airline's facilities in Jordan and throughout the world. Lisa accepted this offer, and this decision would change her life. In April 1977, Lisa's father took her to meet King Hussein. During the audience, the king discussed work issues with the girl. They liked each other, and they went out to lunch together the next day. The king began courting Lisa a week later and invited her to Aqaba for a weekend with his children and friends. After that, they spent time together regularly at his residence. They watched movies together and rode motorcycles and helicopters, but most of all they liked to communicate and share their feelings. Their romance developed rapidly and even too quickly, considering that King Hussein had recently lost his beloved wife. Queen Alia died in February 1977, and in April of the following year, the king made an appointment with Lisa's father, where he openly declared his intention to marry her. The young American woman was in love with the king, but it was not easy for her to agree because the king was 16 years older and had 9 children. Also, after the wedding, she had to become a Muslim and completely change her life. In her 2003 memoir, Leap of Faith, Memoirs of an Unexpected Life, she wrote, "I will not deny that the idea of being his 4th wife or anybody's 4th wife was troubling to me. However, she agreed, and in June 1978 they celebrated their wedding. The event took place in the Zahran Palace in Amman. Before the traditional Islamic ceremony, Lisa converted to Islam and was named Noor al-Hussein, which means the light of Hussein. After the traditional ceremony, a grand celebration occurred, attended by 500 guests, the elite worldwide. After the holiday, the couple got into a limousine and went on their honeymoon. Lisa Najib Halaby received the title of Queen and became the first American-born queen of an Arab country. For this, she had to renounce her American citizenship. She was also in constant need of bodyguards because King Hussein had survived more than 25 assassination attempts. I had never imagined myself nor aspired to be a member of a royal family. I wanted to be in the Peace Corps, not a princess, she said in an interview. The Jordanian people had conflicted feelings towards the king's new wife. Some people were skeptical of her, believing that a Western woman would never be able to belong in Jordan. Others knew about her Arab roots and were glad the king could find new love after losing his previous wife. But young Queen Noor was truly captured the hearts of many people. Firstly, even at the wedding, she delighted the guests with her exquisite taste. Her wedding dress and hairstyle amazed everyone. Jordanians also sympathized with Noor when they learned she had adopted the king's children from his previous marriage. Noor established good relations with the children of the late Queen Alia and took over the royal house's management. When I married, I was so touched and moved and heartened by the fact that I was responded to as an Arab returning rather than as a foreigner coming in and setting up shop, she said. Queen Noor gave birth to a son, Hamza, 2 years after the wedding. A year later, their second son, Hashim, appeared. Later, 2 daughters were born into the family, Princess Iman and Princess Raya. Contrary to the fears of many people who believed that Noor, who grew up Christian, would be an outsider in Jordan, she gained significant influence. Thanks to her Syrian grandfather, many considered her not a foreigner but an Arab who had returned home. After the birth of her children, Queen Noor became actively involved in social work. Thanks to her, innovative programs for women and youth emerged in Jordan. Back in 1979, she founded the King Hussein Foundation, which is still involved in such vital issues as education, medicine, culture, and healthcare in Jordan. Queen Noor became known for her philanthropic work, including advocacy for children, promoting peace and the removal of land mines, protecting the environment from climate change, and advocating for cross-cultural understanding. Queen Noor also accompanied her husband everywhere and supported him in everything. During their marriage, the king and queen were nearly inseparable. She stood by his side at ceremonial events and political activities. They looked so happy together. This marriage was the most joyful and longest in the life of the king of Jordan. They lived together for 21 years, and they could have lived even longer if a terrible disease had not taken the king's life. In 1992, King Hussein was diagnosed with cancer and underwent surgery at the clinic in Minnesota to remove the cancer from his ureter and left kidney. The king struggled with a severe illness for 7 years. All this time, his beloved wife was next to him, who was a reliable support. The sickness brought them even closer. In 1998, the king was back at the clinic receiving treatment for lymphatic cancer. He also received a bone marrow transplant, but his body rejected the new organ. It was clear that there was no more hope. The king was gradually fading away. In this regard, the question of succession to the throne arose. Queen Noor, who by that time had enormous influence in Jordan, of course dreamed that her oldest son, Hamza, would become the next heir to the throne, or at least the crown prince. This would help her maintain power even after the death of the king. Indeed, before his death, King Hussein bequeathed that his oldest son from Queen Noor, Prince Hamza, should become crown prince, and his oldest son from Princess Muna, Abdullah II, should become heir to the throne. However, after the king died in 1999, the position of Queen Noor was shaken. Abdullah II came to power with his wife Queen Rania. 5 years after his father's death, Abdullah deprived his brother Hamza of the title of crown prince under the pretext that this title allegedly limited his freedom. Of course, it was in Abdullah's interests to appoint his son as crown prince, which he then did to avoid rivalry with his brother. Queen Noor has lost all hope that her children will be able to gain power in Jordan. She retained her title of queen, but now Queen Rania became Jordan's de facto first lady. 2 queens could not get along in one palace, so Noor had to leave the country, although she continued to work on behalf of numerous international organizations. Queen Noor's position was further shaken after her oldest son, Hamza, was placed under house arrest in 2021 and lost his royal title for criticizing the Jordanian government. Queen Noor, of course, supported her son and was sure that these accusations were false, praying that truth and justice will prevail for all the innocent victims of this wicked slander. God bless and keep them safe, she wrote on her Twitter. This situation strained Queen Noor's relationship with the ruling Jordanian royal family. She didn't even attend Crown Prince Hussein's wedding in 2023. Noor had to leave Jordan, which became her home country, and now she lives in the USA and the UK. She has accommodation in London and at her country residence, Buckhurst Park, near Wingfield in Berkshire, and also in Washington. Today, Queen Noor is 72 years old, but she actively participates in public life despite her age. She is still a global humanitarian and outspoken advocate for international understanding. Today, she is also the grandmother of 12 grandchildren. After her husband's death, she never remarried. To this day, she continues to cherish the memory of him. She sometimes publishes photographs of King Hussein on her social media, which she usually signs with love messages. In her best-selling book, Leap of Faith, Memoirs of an Unexpected Life, Queen Noor describes the devotion she and King Hussein shared as magic. "You don't look for that, love, it finds you," she said, "and it found me through him, and I'm very blessed for it." Even 24 years after her husband's death, she still loves him. Don't you think this is very touching? Thanks for watching. Remember to share your thoughts with me. Click like and subscribe. See you next time.